guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, I'm back. It's Sunday, December 16th, and it's 9:19 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I certainly am. I just made homemade potato leek soup and had some, and it was absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure why I felt the need to tell you that, but there you go. Now, what we're going to be doing is looking at some Q-related news. There's a lot of it. Q has not posted today, did not post yesterday, nor the day before, so we are awaiting his next post. I'm thinking that it'll probably be tomorrow, but who knows? You know, we're getting closer to January, so I think that things are going to start happening at a rapid pace, and indeed they are. But let's get into the Q-related news. Now, the first thing I want to show you is this out here. But before I get into that, I do want to apologize and say that I was wrong about something, and that was about the underlining of JFK. It was explained to me, and actually I should have known that myself. I shouldn't have needed it to be explained to me, but thank you to you guys who corrected me, because you are absolutely right. That was not an underline. It's just that when you hover over it, it'll say, I haven't hovered over it, so I don't know what it says, but probably it says John F. Kennedy. Anyway, so that was not correct, and makes it interesting that Q said no, JFK Jr. is not alive. And to me, that would make sense, because to tell you the truth, I thought it was crazy when I first heard it. I really did. But then the more I started looking into it, the more I started thinking, there's something to this. I don't know what it is, but there's something to it. Now, along those lines, because, okay, Q said no, and I don't know how deeply he wants us delving into this, if at all, but someone sent this to me, and I wanted to make it available to you because, to me, it's pretty darn convincing. Now, this person has taken a picture of Carolyn Kennedy. Now, again, correct me, because his wife, was she Caroline or Carolyn? Because he has a sister, and I'm not sure. One of them is Carolyn and one of them is Caroline. So I get that mixed up. So if somebody could correct me on that, I'd appreciate it. Somebody that knows. And well, obviously, if you didn't know, you wouldn't put anything at all, would you? So that didn't make sense. But anyway, here we go. Now, what he has done is he's taken a picture of her on her wedding day, or found a picture of her on her wedding day, and superimposed it with he superimposed this woman who is Mrs. Claus. She accompanied Santa Claus to the rally, and this woman, I think, looks an awful lot like Carolyn or Caroline. And when you see the two faces superimposed, it's pretty convincing. So tell me what you guys think. I'm going to show you. All right, so this is the older, the woman that was with Santa Claus at the Trump rally, and it's going to go back and forth and toggle between that and a picture of her on her wedding. I assume it was her wedding. She looks to me like she's wearing a veil. So let's look.
Pretty recent.
Now, that is her when she's young. I would assume this is her wedding. She's young, but look at this picture superimposed.
Recently, I don't know much about.
Same smile, same nose, same features, same eyes, just looks a little bit older, little deeper folds around the mouth, as we all get as we age, and a little bit thinner skin under her eyes, which happens with age. But to me, that's the same person. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to play it again for you, okay?
About it. Okay, so Vincent Fusca. Apparently, people are saying that Vincent Fusca is JFK Jr.
See, just keeps toggling back and forth there, and to me, it's quite convincing. Now, he's talking about the guy on Facebook I don't, or not Facebook, but Twitter, Vincent Fuchsia, or whatever his name is. I have started following him, but I know there are some people that claim that he is JFK Jr. I don't know. I haven't looked into that. So I don't know anything about that. I just know what Q said. He said, no, he's not alive. But there always is that out that it's disinfo. So I don't know. There's enough there to warrant looking into. That's all I'm going to say. All right, now let's move on. I don't want to, belabor the point any, because I don't think Q is wanting us to delve into it too far. I think that he wants it to be a surprise to the world if he is indeed alive. So there you go. All right, now let's look at this. This is Santa Pliskin, and hours before leaving office, Obama distributed Russiagate documents to Democrat senators. No, seriously. Obama spreading his cancer up until the last moment in office. Did Warner, Corker, or Cardin ever tell their fellow committee members that they had received these tips? Probably not. Interesting though, isn't it? Really, really interesting. All right, now, I think that this will probably enrage you, especially if you have children, school-age children anyway. All right, schools ordered to teach 8-year-olds that boys can have periods too. Yeah, okay. Schools in Brighton have been ordered to teach children as young as 8 that people of all genders can have periods, as well as to install sanitary waste disposal units in every toilet room. The instructions were included in guidelines published by the local council earlier this month on taking a period-positive approach in Brighton and Hove schools, which assert there is more work to do across all settings to prevent and reduce stigma related to periods and talking about periods. Okie dokie. Under the subheading Key Messages, teachers are told to stress to pupils that trans boys and men and non-binary people may have periods, as well as that periods are something to celebrate. Okay. And we can see this in ceremonies and celebrations across the world. Do they ever teach the kids how to read and write anymore? The kids that are coming out of school right now, they can't read an old-fashioned clock. They're only used to reading time digitally. They can't read a clock anymore, like for real. They're not teaching them how to write cursive. They don't even know how to sign a check, but they're teaching them all about this, the important things in life, that men have periods too. Okay then. Anyway, I'm sure you can tell how I feel about that. All right, let's go on. I think there's enough of that nonsense, and it is nonsense. Now, let's go on to this. I can't remember what this is, so let me check real quick. Oh, yes. I remember that. I don't want to get into that today, actually. That's just a little bit out of the flow of what we're doing, so I'm going to save that for another day and move on. And this I found quite interesting. November 7th, 2017, Q asked rogue agencies if the money was worth it. I remember this drop very, very well because I thought it was just an interesting drop. He said, where did he say this? Okay, he said this is his, and it says, the graphic is your key. Let's pause and say hello to the rogue intelligence agencies currently monitoring these threads. Was the money worth it? Then he says, Titanic. Q. Now, I'm sure you guys remember that. You guys that have been following this since the start, I'm pretty sure you would remember that tweet. Well, let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see. Now, December 15th, 2018, CNN reported the purpose of the Titanic expedition was to recover sunken nuclear subs. Wow, really? How odd is that? Declassified documents reveal Titanic discovery was just a cover story. This, according to CNN, that was in the news as of yesterday, December 15th. And I thought this was very interesting. For years, the incredible discovery of the Titanic's wreckage at the bottom of the ocean in 1985 was thought to have been a purely scientific effort. But that was a ruse. Speaking to CNN yesterday about now declassified events, Robert Ballard, who discovered the Titanic, said that the expedition was part of a secret U.S. military mission to recover 2 sunken nuclear submarines on the bottom of the ocean. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. And I think this is interesting that Q pointed this out. Now, I know what he was pointing out was some of the, that whole, there's a lot more to the Titanic than just it being a cover story. There's a lot to it sinking and who was on board and everything else. And we looked into that quite a while ago. It's been a year. So, and we may need to visit it again. If you wish, we can visit it again and look at those things. But I just think this is fascinating because I just wasn't expecting that. This kind of took me off guard. All right, now let's go on to the next thing. All right, Melania Trump's spokeswoman speaks out. And again, this was from yesterday, Saturday, December 15th. And yes, this is CNN, but I do want us to look at it anyway. In yet another unnecessary attack on the First Lady, CNN, or is it from CNN? No, it's from Fox News, sorry. And let me get this off here. We know that she spoke to Fox News. And so CNN, in yet another unnecessary attack on the First Lady, CNN contributor Kate Anderson Brower, who purports to be an expert on the customs and norms of First Ladies, and yet has never met Melania Trump, wrote Thursday that Mrs. Trump proved that she doesn't understand what it means to be First Lady. Well, I would disagree with that. I think she did a fabulous job. This condescending opinion, apparently written in response to a single answer Mrs. Trump gave in a Fox News interview Wednesday, was published just hours after the First Lady traveled to Children's National Hospital in Washington to read a Christmas story, visit sick children, and thank the hardworking hospital staff. CNN has a dedicated reporter who covers Mrs. Trump, but the media consistently ignores the First Lady's work on behalf of the people of this country and children in particular. Boy, reading this, I have to keep pinching myself to realize that it's being written by CNN because it sounds positive. So, but the media consistently ignores the First Lady's work on behalf of the people of this country and children in particular in favor of more trivial matters, and my defense here of the First Lady will certainly draw criticism and be framed as another assault on the press, but this predictable reaction won't make my observation any less true. This holiday season, Mrs. Trump has made every effort to spread joy and good cheer to citizens across the country. In the past week alone, Mrs. Trump participated in a Toys for Tot toy drive, visited service members and families from 3 different branches of the military, and flew out to an aircraft carrier for one of the visits, in addition to her time with patients at Children's National Hospital. But rather than focus on these engagements, the good work of the organizations her visits highlighted, or the sacrifices of those who serve in the United States military, Brower and other members of the media chose to focus on a soundbite from a 20-minute interview and a trivial poll released by CNN. For Brower to claim that Mrs. Trump's interview was a lost opportunity to put attention on families of struggling Americans she's met in her role as First Lady is to willfully ignore everything she has actually done to help and support children and families across the globe as a commitment to service she has consistently demonstrated over the past 2 years. I would agree with that. When Brower claims Mrs. Trump has no understanding of what it means to be First Lady, she intentionally ignores all the effort the First Lady has put into fulfilling the traditional responsibilities of that role. For example, she has hosted a successful state dinner and dozens of holiday events at the White House. She has led restoration and preservation efforts in the residence. She has welcomed numerous foreign heads of state to the White House, and most recently, she has represented the country at a state funeral. In fact, the past 2 years, Mrs. Trump has visited several hospitals, both at home and abroad, and visited with children in immigration facilities in Texas and Arizona. In the wake of the hurricanes that devastated Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and Puerto Rico, she traveled to the affected areas to support recovery efforts, and she partnered with the Federal Emergency Management Agency to issue a public service announcement. Mrs. Trump comforted shooting victims in Las Vegas, Parkland, and Pittsburgh, and thanked law enforcement personnel and first responders for their heroic efforts during times of national tragedy. She has carried her Be Best message, a message of hope and empowerment, to children in the United States and around the world. She has emphasized the urgency and severity of our nation's opioid crisis with visits to Lily's Place in West Virginia and multiple newborn intensive care units, where she conducted listening sessions before the cameras to shine a light on successful neonatal abstinence syndrome programs across the country. As part of the broader effort to reduce addiction, she spoke to thousands of young people about the dangers of drug abuse. She has met with major technology companies to understand the challenges that each faces in the effort to address unsafe or irresponsible behavior online, and has encouraged children to practice digital civility. Each event in her comprehensive Be Best initiative is focused on helping children with the many issues they face today. Yet, somehow, she is still characterized as a reluctant First Lady. Of course, absurdity, I can never say that word, absurdity, I can never say that word, so I'm going to skip it, abounds in the media's coverage of our First Lady. Reports focus on the trivial and superficial rather than the deeper issues facing our country that she has tirelessly worked to address. Last year, when Mrs. Trump traveled to Texas to comfort and support the people affected by hurricanes, the media focused on the pair of heels she wore to board Air Force One. So what? So she wears heels. She always wears heels. I don't see why that is such a big deal, but it was. Now, I'm going to skip down here because it's just going through all of her achievements, which are substantial. This woman has been working hard on behalf of the American people. And I think for the most part, those of us that are awake can see that and appreciate it. But the press has been very, very unfair to her. And, any other First Lady, she is on the cover of all the magazines, not Melania. Why? She's a model. She's absolutely exquisitely beautiful. And I just don't understand that. We know why, but yeah. The media also has the opportunity and responsibility to report fairly, accurately, and without bias. They are, in fact, writing the first draft of our nation's history. In many ways, they are failing to measure up to this responsibility. This failure must be addressed. Ms. Bauer's piece criticizing Mrs. Trump has this headline: Melania shows she's a Trump through and through. That's horrible, because we know how they mean it. At least she got that part right. Hopefully the media will eventually learn to celebrate a woman who, through all the noise, is able to hold steadfast to her mission and stay true to herself. Regardless, Melania Trump is proud to be the First Lady of the United States and is proud to represent the American people. This is one of the best articles I've ever seen on CNN. Seriously. Never seen anything like it. Hopefully, this is an indication that the tide is turning there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to hold out too much hope, but certainly the best article I've ever read on CNN and the most honest. So there you go. Now let's go back and see what else we can get into. This is interesting. I thought you guys might be interested in this. Now, this says, a future shock. President Trump truly is a genius if he's behind the mysterious QAnon cult that's radicalizing Americans. Well, I don't think it's radicalizing us, but anyway, the last days of Rome, Sodom and Gomorrah, Hitler's bunker, Brookside, history is littered with cultural apocalypses, and each instance is tied together by an enlightening common thread that when all the cards have been played, the curtain is falling and the end game looms, the damned will always revert to primal instinct, seeking out their last... seeking out their last with a panicked frenzy of mass fornication. Okay, whatever. The White House is likely abundant with pulsating piles of naked knotted flesh at the moment. Okay, wow, this isn't what I was expecting. I probably should have read this thoroughly before I've never even been to this website, so you know what? I'm going to skip this. Because I thought perhaps it was going to be positive, but it's not. So, bye-bye. All right, let's see what else we can get into. There's plenty of stuff here. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this, but in case you haven't, police seize Vatican laptops in massive pedophile ring bust. Wow. That's earth-shattering, really. Police have been raiding the offices of the Catholic Church since June 2018, seizing laptops and files belonging to church officials and the Vatican after prosecutors became frustrated with the Catholic Church's ongoing protection of pedophile priests. Hard to believe we're even reading this because it's been going on for so long and nothing's been done. And now, all of a sudden, according to Pope Francis and the Vatican, the Catholic Church is under no obligation to divulge information about pedophile priests, claiming that details of sexual crimes committed by the Catholic officials are protected under canon law as pontifical secrets. However, according to a report by Reuters, beginning since mid-June, there have been 6 raids on the offices belonging to the Catholic Church. Authorities have reportedly seized documents, files, computers, laptops, and tablets belonging to the church officials and the Vatican. Guess they're not above the law. How's that pontifical secrets thing working out for you? Not too good. All right. The raids are part of an ongoing investigation into allegations of rampant child sexual abuse committed by Catholic priests all over the world. The raids have been staged as surprise sweeps and are being regarded as the most aggressive ever undertaken by a judicial authority against the Roman Catholic Church. This is big. It's huge. It's colossal. It's ginormous. Reuters reports 2 special envoys sent by Pope Francis to investigate a child sex abuse scandal in Chile were meeting priests and church workers at a university in the Chilean capital last month when aides rushed into the room with an alarming development. Police and prosecutors were about to start raiding church offices. The envoys were 90 minutes into a seminar on how to investigate allegations of sex abuse committed by fellow clergy. Following revelations, hundreds of children might have been molested. For decades, the Roman Catholic Church in Chile quietly investigated such allegations without alerting police, but it now stands accused, even by Pope Francis himself, of a cover-up that allowed abusers to operate with impunity. One of the clergymen listening to the envoys was Jamie Ortez, the Lazcano, the legal advisor to Santiago's archbishop. The aides rushed to his side and told him, "Father, go to the church offices because there's going to be a raid," Ortiz later recounted. Police and prosecutors were staging simultaneous raids on church offices less than a mile away from the university and outside the Capitol, looking for evidence of sex crimes the church had not reported to police. The surprise sweeps, ordered by Emiliano Arias, a provincial prosecutor, marked the start of what experts who track sex crimes in the Roman Catholic Church say is one of the most aggressive investigations ever undertaken by a judicial authority anywhere in the world. So we're not going to go into all of this, but if you are not aware of that, I thought you should be. Because, yeah, I mean, something has needed to be done for a very, very long time. And it's not just the crimes in Chile. There are worldwide crimes that have been covered up by the Catholic Church. And I'm not saying, I'm just stating facts. I mean, that's just a fact. Anyway, let's move on. Alrighty. And this from the GOP. Controlling the border is a public safety issue. From October 2017 through July 2018, California Border Patrol seized 6,423 pounds of cocaine. That's a lot of cocaine. 532 pounds of heroin. 439,531 pounds of marijuana. 10,382 pounds of methamphetamine, and 332 pounds of fentanyl. And the Democrats want us to do away with ICE and Border Patrol and just have open borders. Really? Yeah, I don't think that'll work out too well. So, let's go to the next thing. This by Florida guy. Boom! Judge Sullivan will consider arguments for throwing out the General Flynn guilty plea prior to sentencing. Judge Sullivan has placed the burden of proof on Mueller to prove General Flynn was afforded general counsel, which he was not. Second, did FBI use excessive threats? Probably. Interesting, though. I'm kind of on the edge of my seat waiting for what's going to happen with the whole Flynn thing, because it's so grossly unfair that it kind of makes you wonder. But anyway, now let's, speaking of Michael Flynn, we're going to take a look at this. If I can get out there. And here we go. The framing of Michael Flynn. Great article. And it says, authors note this essay is largely based off our new book, Spygate, The Attempted Sabotage of Donald Trump. On December 29th, 2016, Michael Flynn received a phone call while on vacation in the Dominican Republic from Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, that would change his life forever. Earlier in the day, in retaliation for Russian interference in the election, not collusion, then President Barack Obama forced the closure of Russian-owned compounds in New York and Maryland and slapped new sanctions against Russia. Is there any doubt that such a move would prompt Ambassador Kislyak, I can't pronounce his name, to call Flynn, Trump's national security advisor at the time, to discuss what had just happened? In taking Kislyak's call, Flynn must have been aware that the call would be intercepted and monitored, given that he was speaking on an unsecured line in the Dominican Republic. Had Flynn been on U.S. soil, he would have been able to prevent such surveillance, but due to the timing of Obama's firings and Flynn's location in the Dominican Republic, his conversation was intercepted and recorded. The two discussed the sanctions against Russia Obama had just passed, and whatever his name is, promised that Russia would not react with sanctions of their own. Since the call was recorded, the FBI had an entire transcript of the conversation. If there were any wrongdoing, it would be evident in the transcript. Clearly, it was not. As at the direction of Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, Flynn was questioned about the contents of his conversation with Kislyak on January 24th, 2017 by special agents Peter Strzok and Joe Patenka in a meeting set up by the then FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Rather than try to pry information from Flynn about the call, Flynn was merely quizzed about the contents of his own conversation with Strzok and Patenka, presumably looking for any deviation from the script to claim Flynn was technically lying to the FBI, even if unintentionally. Sally Yates' immediate concern from the Kislyak phone call was that Flynn violated the Logan Act, a rarely enforced law from 1799 that prevents Americans from corresponding with foreign governments, which is ridiculous given Flynn's political position. If the Logan Act actually were enforced, it would have been used to prevent Dennis Rodman from visiting North Korea or Jimmy Carter's various peace efforts. If Flynn had truly done something wrong, why would Yates be so desperately grasping at straws in citing the Logan Act? Good point. In a stunning new development, we've learned from a 302 report, and the 302 report, of course, is the FBI. Every interrogation is recorded on a form that's 302. That's all that's talking about. In a stunning new development, we've learned from a 302 report that proper protocol wasn't followed to protect Flynn against entrapment. A 302 report contains accounts from the agents of what they said and did while interviewing Flynn, and the FBI waited over half a year to detail the Flynn interview, according to Fox News. The August date on the FBI's 302 cited by the Flynn team in nearly 7 months after the Flynn interview took place, and about a week after reports surfaced that Strzok had been summarily removed from Mueller's Russia probe because his persistent anti-Trump communications had surfaced. Flynn clearly saw the FBI agents as allies, according to the 302 prepared by Strzok and another agent. Flynn's attorneys allege that Andrew McCabe pushed Flynn to not have an attorney present during the questioning that ultimately led to his guilty plea on a single charge of lying to federal authorities. According to Flynn's legal team and the 302 itself, the FBI agents in this case deliberately did not instruct Flynn that any false statement he made could constitute a crime, and decided not to confront him directly about anything he said that contradicted their knowledge of his wiretapped communications with former Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak. He was very clearly entrapped, and I think that this is important right now because all this stuff is surrounding Flynn, and I don't think a lot of people realize what actually happened, and so I think that this is a phenomenal article. Okay, it says, bear in mind the FBI's counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign was a secret at the time. Flynn had no reason to have his guard up. Now, even stranger, despite the charges Flynn now faces following the Kafkaesque line of questioning when James Comey briefed a number of Capitol Hill lawmakers about the Bureau's counterintelligence operation into the Trump campaign. Two sources familiar with the meeting said Comey told lawmakers and the FBI agents who interviewed Flynn didn't believe he lied or intentionally provided any misleading answers. The report also said FBI Director McCabe testified that the FBI agents didn't suspect wrongdoing either. Yet McCabe also pushed Flynn to speak without a lawyer. For those reasons and the role that Peter Strzok played in trying to thwart a Trump presidency, I find these claims doubtworthy. It also doesn't help the FBI's credibility when two of those involved in Flynn's entrapment, Strzok and McCabe, have since been fired for misconduct. Clearly, their claims that they actually thought Flynn was innocent cannot possibly be true, as if they were, Flynn would would have had to plead guilty to manufactured charges to avoid a personal bankruptcy. And let's suppose for a second that they are true, that McCabe, Strzok, and Pientka all thought Flynn did nothing wrong. Then who was pulling the strings to decide otherwise? Good question. What do you think is more likely? That Michael Flynn could perfectly recall the contents of a phone call made while on vacation, or that Flynn decided that he'd lie to the FBI's face without any legal counsel over the contents of a phone call where nothing illegal is discussed? To ask such a question is to answer it. So it's no wonder that entrapment was the goal all along. And it was. And very well written article, great website. So that, in a nutshell, is what happened with Flynn, and I'm really praying that he gets justice, because I mean, the guy almost lost his home. He did nearly go bankrupt, paying his legal fees for nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So let's go on. Now, the last thing I have for you, and there's so much news out there, I really could go into a lot more things, but this is very interesting. I found this today, and we all know about the dangers of 5G. I think that it's pretty well known now, and I don't understand why nothing is being done about it. I'm really perplexed with that. I wish that Trump would acknowledge that it is harmful, and even cue somebody. But anyway, let's go out here. I think you'll find this quite interesting. Or maybe you won't. But I think you will. All right. 440 hertz versus 432 hertz. Conspiracy to force anxiety on us through our music. Now, you have to admit, this is intriguing. I know you want to know more. Music across the globe is tuned to 440 hertz and has been for many, many years. However, lots of people believe that frequency is damaging us in many different ways. Could 440 be causing us to become unhealthy mentally and physically? 440 hertz is a standard tuning frequency, but would 432 hertz be better? After all, we used 432 hertz before the change, and many of our people of the past were much more creative and far smarter in comparison to the people of current times, right? Many even go so far as to say that 440 is the government's or even the global elite's way of waging war on man. Dr. Leonard Horowitz wrote as follows on this in a paper entitled Musical Cult Control. The music industry features this imposed frequency that is herding populations into greater aggression, psychosocial agitation, and emotional distress, predisposing people to physical illness. 432 hertz is the frequency of life. Many believe this frequency itself can heal mankind as well as the rest of the world. Listening to music that has been tuned to this frequency is said to make your body, as well as the organic world surrounding it, resonate in a more natural way. 440 hertz is considered to be disharmonic and is said to cause stress as well as unstable emotions. 440 hertz is, as it seems, successfully lowering the vibrations of the younger generations to come, as well as our own. You can hear a distinct difference between the 432 and 440, as you will notice in the video below. There are even organizations working to revive the 432 hertz as the standard for tuning, but I doubt that will happen. 440 hertz is quite embedded in our culture currently, so it will take a lot to make a change like that. Now, I had never heard anything like this, but I believe it because I know that they control us through the music as they do through television. It's all propaganda. They decide who makes it in the music industry. There are very, very talented people that never made it because they wouldn't swing on their gate, so to speak. So, anyway, let me see, where did yeah. Now, whether you think all of this is bull or not is entirely up to you. The conspiracy theory has been around for ages and is not dying off anytime soon. I, for one, believe I can feel a difference when I pay attention to the videos on this, but since I don't only listen to music in 432 hertz, I am not sure what my stance is. Could 440 hertz be causing anxiety? Interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, this is going to play 440 versus 432, and I haven't played this yet, so hopefully I won't get a copyright strike.
There's been a lot of talk lately about 440 hertz versus 432 hertz, and if you haven't seen any of this, basically the idea is that conventionally in Western music, A is defined by the frequency 440 hertz, and everything else is based around that and based off of that. But there's some people who are saying that they think A
I'm going to
should be
move to
defined
the okay, see, I can't because this is copyrighted music. It's Stairway to Heaven. So, what I would suggest if you are interested in this is going out to YouTube, which you're already there, and Googling this or putting it into the search, and 432 hertz compared to 440 hertz. And there are probably lots of examples out there. So I don't know what I think about this. I'm tending to believe it, but I don't know. What do you guys think? It's interesting. So that's it for tonight, and I'm going to pause here. I know this has been a shorter video. I am actually thinking that probably this week's going to be really, really busy, so I don't think that I'll have any shortage of material to bring you this week. So we'll look forward to what's going to happen. Christmas is just around the corner, so I guess we're going to know real soon if who we think might be alive is, or if it was indeed a ruse. So that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I hope you stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and I will talk to you guys real soon. Thanks so much for listening, and you guys are the best. Talk to you later. Good night.